And, probably not the strongest of fields when you really look at it. But the interesting thing is, this is the kind of event where if you kind of pay more attention to not necessarily who wins, but maybe who's in contention. Like last year, Max Homa won, and Max Homa is leading again as we talk right now. But, high up on that leaderboard was Mito Pereira, and we kind of didn't pay much attention until he almost won the PGA Championship last May. So in May. So these are the kind of events where, the field strength isn't all that great, but this is where maybe you see a guy who's starting to build, or somebody who's getting an opportunity, or maybe somebody who's trying to make a comeback. Clemson's own Ben Martin has been on the tour. Looked like he was going to have some success. A lot of injuries kicked in, didn't retain his card. Now he's kind of made his way back through the Korn Ferry Tour, and lo and behold, he's back up tied for fourth right now. So, again, this is one of those weeks where you're kind of looking at maybe some potential throughout the year.
And I guess the calm before the President's Cup storm, which, Greeny, you'll be on hand, right? You'll be reporting live from there coming up next weekend.
Yeah, actually, locally here in Charlotte, which you can go to thegolfshopshow.com or go to our local affiliate, the ESPN 7:30 The Game site, and you can actually listen live. I've got to do shows Thursday from 12 to 2, Friday from 12 to 2, our normal Saturday show 8 to 10, and then Sunday we're doing 8 to 11. So going to be putting in a lot of extra work, and somebody's throwing me on TV next Wednesday, which I don't have the hair for TV. But anyway, so lots going on, and we'll be knee-deep in it next week.
All the Greeny you can handle coming up next week, and we'll have the Golf Shop Radio Show this Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on Pirate Radio. Next Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. as well. President's Cup going on right here. How big of a deal is this for it to be right here in North Carolina, in Charlotte, Greeny?
This is a big deal. You can say that the Wells Fargo Championship, and it's been over your way before. It does have an international flair just because the fields these days are so international. But when you start talking about this, when you've got guys on the international team from around the world, you get all some pretty good sticks on the U.S. side. This is a big deal. It kind of gets its primetime viewing. It should really be the only golf that's happening. You might get a smattering of some smaller tours, might get the LPGA and whatnot. But, this is where everybody's going to be focused on. And they're going to see, really, can Trevor Immelman and his, what I would call, kind of young squad make a dent? When you start looking at this, you think the USA has a huge advantage, right? The USA players, those 12 guys, have a combined 90 wins across any professional tour. Well, the international squad has 82 wins across all tours worldwide. So when you look at it from just a pure winning perspective, not so far off in terms of the quality of each of the two teams.
Mark Greenelge, Golf Shop Radio Show, joining us. Greeny, a Clemson alum, and since winning the opener against Georgia Tech, Clemson has knocked off an FCS opponent and now takes on Louisiana Tech. I'd have more interest in this one if Skip Holtz was still there, Greeny, but he is not, and the Tigers are huge favorites this weekend against those Bulldogs. I guess ACC games to watch. NC State hosting Texas Tech, 7 o'clock on the Deuce, and then Miami will be on the national stage on ESPN at 9 o'clock at Texas A&M. Tonight you've got Florida State at Louisville in an ACC matchup. So outside of your Tigers, what are you watching as far as ACC play goes this weekend?
Yeah, definitely that Miami-Texas A&M game is huge. It is Miami really back? They're going up against an SEC team who's probably not real happy at the moment after getting app-stated last week. So, that's what I'm looking at. Texas A&M still favored by 6. Again, a lot of people are looking for the U to kind of make that resurgence. They're ranked 13th in the country. Still a 6-point underdog in this game. Texas A&M is going to be a little angry. We'll see if Miami is ready for prime time. Last couple of years, we keep thinking that Miami's right there on the edge, and whenever they get that prime time shot, they lay an egg. So that's definitely going to be what you want to see. And then, Florida State, we feel like that we've had a little bit of progress out of Florida State. Louisville has had their issues as well, and I think this could be a big game for both of those teams. Like, which direction does it go in? If you win this game, maybe you get a little momentum. And if you lose this game, man, it could start to spiral down a la like a Nebraska.
Mark Greenhill's joining us, Pit Electric Live Line. Greeny, I think I know the answer to this question, the way you're going to answer it. I'm going to ask it anyway. Who's in more trouble, the local team there, the Carolina Panthers, or the team you root for, the New England Patriots? Both 0-1 to start the season.
That's a good question. I mean, I'm sitting there watching Mac Jones in the first drive last week, takes it right down the field and then throws a pick. Might have probably been pass interference, but, you got to move on. And then then they have a fumble that gets taken back for a touchdown, and then they have a chance near the end of the game, and they're down inside the red zone, and they complete a pass, and it gets fumbled, and that kind of ends it. And it's like, mistakes. And we kind of saw that early in the season last year, a little bit from the mistake side, a little suspect on the offensive line. So I'm a little worried about them against a team like the Steelers, who are probably going to put a lot of pressure on that offensive line. So, here in Carolina, I mean, I think that was one of those games where maybe Baker Mayfield, was maybe impacted in that first half a little bit, maybe trying a little too hard. And once he kind of settled in, things went a little bit better. But, down the stretch, the Panthers kind of failed again, which has been the MO of this team for how long now, where, not only the first half of seasons, do they seem to come out and play okay, but in the second half, terrible. But then you get the instance where the second half of games in the second half of season, they get impacted, and they just still didn't finish the job here in the second half. So there might be equal concerns on both sides for me.
Both teams on the road, both teams looking for their first win. Panthers at Giants, Patriots taking on the Steelers. Last night it was the Chiefs over the Chargers. Two Monday night games coming up this week, Greeny. So the NFL, it's almost like they test the fans' patience. Like, how long will you stick with us? We'll put games on a streaming service on Thursday. We'll throw Packers-Bears on a Sunday night and then give you two Monday nighters. And I tell you what, I'm a sucker. I'll sit there and watch every one of them, Greeny.
Yeah, they haven't found that line with any of us yet. They could bury one on a live stream like the Live Golf League does. Yeah. Everybody would still find a way to get it on there and watch it, right? The double Monday night games, I mean, I guess, do you call it disrespect to maybe the Bills and the Eagles and the Vikings and the Titans? That there's two games going on starting an hour and 15 minutes apart. I mean, what do you do at that point? Who kind of gets the larger viewing audience? You got to think at this point it's going to be the Buffalo Bills. But then with what the Vikings did to Bay last week, and everybody, saying, okay, the Eagles, the door's wide open now because the Cowboys are in a little bit of trouble at quarterback. So, man, it just seems like those are two really good games that you kind of want to look at, and obviously the way the Titans didn't finish the job in their game either. So, yeah, it's like we had week one, and it's like, man, we should just be kind of easing on into the season. We've got 1,600 storylines to deal with.
It is fascinating. It is almost fake the way this happens every single year, but it is so much fun to watch. Mark Greenhill's Golf Shop Radio Show joining us. Greeny, what's on tap for Saturday's program?
Well, we've got a lot of stuff going on as usual. We're gonna talk about the President's Cup coming up next week, and we'll touch base with Rex Hoggard, get a little preview of that. We'll take our way down to Sea Island and check in with the director of golf down there, Brendan Beal. They always have a fall event coming up on the schedule down there in Sea Island, so we'd always look forward to that one. And then we're going to check in on said Panthers-Giants game with the play-by-play voice of the Giants, Mr. Bob Papa. So a little football and Bill Bender as always. So pro football, a little more golf. Thing in there. Maybe we'll talk baseball too. Who knows?
A lot going on. Golf Shop Radio Show 8 to 10 a.m. to get our broadcast schedule underway. We'll have the Bud Light pregame for you at 2 o'clock. And, of course, after the game, the U.S. Sailor fifth quarter call-in show. Greeny, enjoyed the chat, man. Have a great weekend. And we'll talk to you next week live from the President's Cup. That'll be fun.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Greeny. It's an unenthusiastic sign-off, but we'll talk to you next Friday. And that wraps it up for this Friday and this week's editions of PRL. But we're back with you 2 o'clock Saturday, Bud Light pregame tailgate, taking you up to the 6 o'clock kickoff after the game, the U.S. Sailor fifth quarter call-in show. Thanks for tuning in today. For Shirley Rhodes, CJ Schaefer, I'm Clip Brock. We'll see you Monday on PRL and Saturday on the Bud Light pregame